Thank you for that lovely help with the introduction by Akash. Hello, welcome to Munch UK. My name is SUBHASH VIMAN GORANIA, and I just want to quickly thank Gauri for the mention yesterday, missing your presence here in the UK. And yes, I remember she did take my grade 1 exam, and what a daunting experience it was, to say the least. I just want to say a big thank you to Meera for conceptualizing this whole initiative. I mean, it's such an amazing platform, and I've got to learn so much about the lives of so many artists here in the UK. So thank you for selecting me as one of the 33 artists, and of course a huge thank you to all the helpers who are doing a fabulous job behind the screens: Ambika, Subhalakshmi, Suhani and Vidya. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, deeply. So the whole purpose of this Munch UK is to kind of get an insight into artists and how they made their way into dance, their profession. And for those of you who don't know, my I actually started dancing when I was 23 years old, and I don't mean professionally. Professionally, I stepped into it when I was about 28, 29, but I stepped into my first dance class when I was 23 years old. And how I arrived at that point is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I've never shared this story really with anyone, only because I never felt the need to, other than Gary Clark, which I'll come to later on. But I think this is the right time now to kind of share this story with the whole world about how I got into dance, and hopefully it inspires people out there to do more. So I was born in India, in near Porbandar, and I moved to the UK when I was 2 years old. And I've got 3 siblings, 3 sisters, 1 older, 2 younger. And we grew up in a family which was very militant. I wouldn't even say is the right word. I mean, it was a bit of an aggressive nature, I would say. I think with my dad, it was very tough growing up around him, because I think I was deprived of my childhood, let's put it that way. And there was a lot, me and my mum used to take a lot of beatings. My dad did have a bit of an alcohol problem. He was very angry all the time. He had an aggressive problem, and he used to take it out on me or my mum. And I think up till the point where I got to university, where something happened, which I'll reach later on, I never stopped getting hit. I kept getting hit all the time. I even hold a bump here in my head for one of the beatings I took when I was 13 years old. And he hit me really hard with his ring, and I've had that bump ever since. It was way my dad showed love, really. It was his way of expressing his love for us. But I felt that it was, we weren't allowed to play outside. We were always told that we had to keep cleaning or doing household chores. If I went out for 5 minutes, I was called back in. Our summer holidays, 6 weeks, believe it or not, was spent cleaning the kitchen. That's all we did. So we grew up with this without actually being able to be free like children and express ourselves, and we were deprived from that. And I just wanted to be free, basically. And the only time that I could be myself was at school. So I used to love going to school. 100% attendance, just loved school. And bearing in mind, both my parents are completely illiterate. Even till this day, they don't speak, read, or write English at all. And it was very difficult, because me being the only boy in the family, a lot of the responsibilities fell on me. So from the age of 8, I was filling in their forms. I know all their details off by heart. I was working out their wages. Anytime they went to the shop, I had to go with them to be a translator. So there was a lot of responsibilities that fell on me from a young age, and if I didn't do them, I would be in trouble. So the household was kind of like that up till later age. And when I went to school, a lot of the kids found out that my mom was a bit slow at picking up things, And at first it started with name calling, pushing. I remember my mum coming to pick me up from school, and they pushed her, they pushed me. You know, it got a bit aggressive at times. And bearing in mind, this is junior school. And pushing eventually became bullying. So when I got to school, I was getting bullied at school. So I was receiving the abuse and hit at home, but I was also getting bullied at school. And me being so small as I was then, there was nothing I could do. Every time I told the teacher, they didn't help. And I just felt helpless. And I remember one point, because like I said, my dad was quite militant. He wouldn't buy us any clothes or anything. We had to stick with 3 pairs of clothes for 1 year, and that was it. And my granddad got a leather jacket from India, and I was so proud of it. And I wore it to school. It was 2 sizes too big. And the people that were bullying me, the little kids, they took me behind the bushes during playtime, and they just ripped the jacket, ripped the pockets, ripped it all apart for no reason whatsoever, only because they found it funny. So I think school for me was quite traumatizing and a scary experience. And after that, we had to go to high school, and I opted to go to a school which wasn't seen as very great, only because all those that were bullying me were going to the good school, and I wanted to avoid them. So I would do it by any means. And I went to a school which was not great, didn't have good results. There was a lot of issues at school, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get away. And I think those were the most peaceful 5 years of my life. I kind of went by, did my GCSEs. And at this point, I remember I took dance classes. They was teaching us Thriller, I think it was, Thriller. It was part of our GCSE dance. And at that point, I knew I hated dance. I did not want to dance at all. I couldn't dance, but I wasn't even interested in. And I used to skive the lessons. We used to skip it. And I was always a follower, never leader. And all the boys found it very uncool to dance. So I kind of felt the same. But what I was interested in, at the time I remember Pixar's Toy Story was released, and I was very interested in animation. I loved animation, so I was very driven with the fact that I was going to be some sort of an artist. And so I worked hard. I said I want to work for Disney. So my aim was that I wanted to work for Disney, whether it's an animation house or something, because it's just something I love expressing through paint and art. So I worked tirelessly through college. Got all my grades, did everything as normal, passed through. And then after college, I went to university. And for me, university was the game-changing point in my life. I got to university and I was doing multimedia design at De Montfort University, which predominantly is graphic design, multimedia design, etc., animation. And I got 2 years into the studies, and it was a summer break. And me and my friends decided that we were all just going to get together and go to the park and play football. The park was about 10 minutes away, and we made our way to the park. And en route to the park, just across the road, 10-15 meters across the road, was 3 of the guys that used to bully me when I was small. Now, I'll never forget their faces. You always remember their faces, but I saw them and I told my friends, and things got a bit heated, let's just say, and both parties were arguing and pushing, and we tried to cool it off. I mean, I didn't want to fight at all. I didn't want anything to do with this, and they went their way, we went our way, but they knew we were going to the park because I had a football and the park's only down the road. So we were playing in the park, and I remember seeing it was like a hill, a green hill. So we were at the bottom of the hill playing football. And I remember from the distance, I saw these 3 men with hoodies just running as if they'd, done something bad. And I thought nothing of it. I thought maybe it's, I don't know, they're running away from something. So I thought nothing of it. We carried on playing. As they got closer to me, we realized that, wait, something is not normal here. They're coming towards us at full power and something. So everyone that we were playing football with, there was about 12 of us, everyone just ran. Everyone panicked. And at this point, I just froze. I didn't know what to do. And there was a friend of mine, Danny, so it was me and Danny. And as they got closer, these 3 men, they were wearing red hoodies, they just opened their zipper and they pulled out these massive baseball bats. They must have been about a meter and a half, wooden baseball bats. And the middle person, the middle guy, he took a massive swing, and it hit me right here in the temple, and I just went down like a dead body, just curled up. And what I endured for the next minute and a half was just a massive battering. I don't recall. I don't recall how it felt exactly, because I was kind of numb to the pain. But I just remember curling up in a ball, and I just had blood everywhere and bleeding, and I was getting beat and hit, and they were just constantly hitting, non-stop. And luckily, my friend Danny tried to intervene, and he tried to kick them or do something, and there was a second gap, just a second, and in that split second I just got up and I ran like my life depended on it. And we ran up to the top of the hill. I don't know what happened, just full of adrenaline, but I looked at my clothes and it was completely just blood. You couldn't see anything. That's how much blood I lost. And I had a big 1-inch hole in my head. It was deep, 1-inch hole, and blood was just pouring out. We were trying to stop the blood, and we were banging on all the doors and asking people to call the ambulance, and it got, ambulance eventually came, and they stopped the bleeding. And because the hole was so big, they couldn't put stitches. It wasn't able to hold. The stitches was just snapping, so they had to staple it. I had 16 staples put in my head here at the back here. And I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and the police did a report. And the report, funnily enough, came back that the police felt it was my fault, because they couldn't see why 3 people would randomly just attack you unless you provoked it. And I couldn't tell them otherwise. They weren't buying the story. They kept coming back. I think I had about 4 or 5 interviews with the police. And eventually I think I just had enough. I didn't want to deal with it. And I just told them that I just want to close the case. And I did. I completely closed the case. And I went back to university, bearing in mind this was now 3 months later. I went back to university, and I had to meet up with my teachers and explain, and I was so far behind from my work that I just didn't have any energy to continue, so I dropped out of university as well. So my dreams for working for Disney, my dreams for working for any form of animation house was completely shattered at that point. And that's when I knew that I had nothing going for me. So to make ends meet, I worked in paper factories. Bearing in mind I was about 18, 19. I worked in paper factories, pork factory, a banana factory. I worked in the Asda warehouse at stupid hours, Chris factory. It was just work wherever I could get money. And then I found a job at a local supermarket just down the road, and they were offering me a full-time job, and I said okay, and it was just stacking shelves. So I did that for about 1.5 years. And then I came across a dance film I watched back then. I was really inspired. It's called You Got Served. It's a hip-hop dance film, for those of you who have not seen it. I mean, back then I was completely inspired by the film, because I was like, wow, these people are dancing and they're battling. It's so cool. Maybe I could do this. But looking back at the film now, it's so cheesy. I mean, it's really just awful. I have no idea what inspired me about the film, but there was something about the sense of battle, the sense of commitment, the sense of this tournament. I was just like, yeah, maybe I could do it. So I Googled dance classes in Leicester. Bearing in mind, I've never danced in my life. I was just inspired by the film. I Googled dance classes in Leicester, and I came across a dance class on Belgrave Road, and they were teaching hip-hop. So I gave them a call and I said, do you mind if I just come in? And she said, yeah, just come along. And when I went to the class, funnily enough, I met Kesha Raitata. So she was my first ever dance friend, and we've been best friends ever since. I met her, and I remember she had dreads. She had these weaves in her hair, and she was doing hip-hop, and we used to dance. And I remember looking in the mirror when I was dancing. It was really embarrassing, because I could never look at myself. I was always looked down, and the teacher would always say, look up. And I'd always look down. It's because I just felt like a right plonker. I couldn't dance. I was like, I can't do it. I'm not confident. I can't do this. I can't do that. But for some reason, I don't know what it was about dance. It just kept pulling me in, and I just wanted to do more and more. And the more I did, the more I got confident. And one class led to two class led to 4. And then I was part of the performance group. We started performing. I was getting more confident. And then I got into Bollywood films. And then I met a chap called Anand Bhatt. Hello, if you're listening. He was running a dance school at the time called Desi Masti, and I said to him, do you mind if I come in and, you teach me some dance moves, Bollywood dance move? And he said, yeah, come along to the classes. And I came along to the classes, and we did, I did a couple of Bollywood, classes with him. And then my first show with Anand, I remember we did Rangade. That was the first show we did. It was awful. It was really bad. It was just really funny, but it's good memories. I remember the costume falling apart, and I'm getting tied. My legs were getting tangled in the costume, and I just couldn't work out how this dhoti worked. But that was how it was, and I got more confident with the group, and again, one class led to two. Then I entered a few competitions, and the competitions I was doing quite well, and then I eventually became a teacher at the school, and I was running the performing group as well. And then Anand, and I have to thank him for this dearly, Anand had a word with me, and he goes, look, Subhash, I've given all I can, and there's nothing much that I can give you here, and I think that you have potential for more, but you need to go elsewhere. And he said that you should really start Kathak or Bharatanatyam. And just bearing in mind, let me just backtrack. I had a conversation with Kesha once after hip-hop. She had a bag of gungurus. It was just like shimmering. She was walking, and I said, what's that? And she said, gungurus. I go, what do you do? She goes, Kathak. I go, what's that? So I Googled it, and I said, that's such a pathetic style. Why would you do such a horrible and boring style, really? And she goes, no, you like it, just try it, give it a shot. And I said, no, I would never ever do Kathak. And Kesha will remember this. We had this conversation. And so then anyway, I got in touch with, through Anand, I got in touch with Smita, and she started teaching me Bharatanatyam adavus. I remember I was just doing Tayyum, Tattat, Tayyum, Taha, just basic adavus upstairs in the studios. And then I got in touch with Nilima Devi, and she was very eager to have me. I called her up and I said that I want to learn Kathak. I've been recommended by Anand, and do you mind if I come in? And she said, yeah, come in on Friday, 6 o'clock. I remember the time specifically. She said, come in, I'll teach you. Let me see what you can do. And I went to the class, really nervous, don't even know what Kathak is, never wore a gungur in my life. And I got there, and there was this figure in the background. So Didi's in front of me sitting on the floor. There's a dark dimmed room, and there was this figure. You gotta remember, there's these small little windows, so lights are coming through, so I couldn't see this figure. It was a silhouette, scrawny little Indian guy, and I was doing footwork. She was teaching me like ta, te, ta. I was just trying to get the gist of left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. And there's this person in the background going really fast, and I was just like, what the hell is this guy doing in my class when I'm here learning and he's showing off? And then I remember Didi was teaching me chakkars, and she was going like slow chakkars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was trying to just get the gist of chakkars, and this guy in the background just spinning. And it was really putting me off. And I was just like, why is he here? Then after the class, Didi introduced me, and she goes, this is Akash. And that was the first time that I met Akash. You remember? That was my first introduction to Akash. And I was like, oh, so this is the Akash I've been hearing about. And he said his name's Akash Odedra. Now, for those of you who don't know, my name is Gorania, and we come from a Gujarati Kathiawadi Mer caste. So to find another male who's a Mer was very rare. So the moment I spoke to Akash, we connected like this, and we've been like best friends ever since. And it's just funny how the relationship has developed from that one moment in the classroom where I was learning the steps till where we are now. But I'll never forget that day. That was a very memorable day. And ever since then, I mean, I've gone on, I did some training, and I have to thank my gurus. I was pulled in for a production with Nupur Arts. It's called Five Senses, and Chitra Didi was coming in to choreograph. So I was auditioning for the production, and I got in, and then Chitra Didi came in to choreograph, and I spoke to Chitra Didi after the rehearsals, and I said, do you mind if you teach me some moves? I want to learn some Bharatanatyam. Do you think I've got potential? And she said, yeah, just come along to the classes. And at this point, Akash and Jyoti and Akash were in the midst of doing their Arangetram. I did kept saying I'll go on a Sunday. I never did. I don't know why. I just wasn't confident enough. And then what happened after that? Where was I? Yeah, sorry. After the classes, is she was auditioning for a production called Stardust to Life. Now they already had 3 dancers in there. There was Johanna, Akash, and Alice. They were looking for a 4th dancer. I remember I used to take Akash to the rehearsals, and they must have sieved through at least 8 or 9 dancers, and they just wasn't finding the person they were looking for. I only went there accidentally with Akash, and Hari Krishnan was there. He was taking the R&D, and Hari and Chitra Didi decided that why don't you give Subhash a chance? So I went in with Akash and we did a couple of moves, and they felt that I had some form of potential, and that if they were to teach me, that I could do this production. I wasn't confident because, bearing in mind, 3 of the dancers that I'm dancing with have been training in Bharatanatyam their entire life and have gone on to do their Arangetram, and there's me coming in with barely 2 weeks of Adavu training. But Chitra Didi taught me the Adavus, and I somehow managed to do the production, and I think that the 3 dancers did a fabulous job, and I imitated, I have to say this word, I imitated Bharatanatyam very well. That's what I did. I didn't perform it as how, if I look back at it now, it's very cringing, but somehow I got through it, and I think that was a massive learning curve. And after that, Chitra Didi offered me a full-time job in her company, and I left my job, what I was doing, and I dropped everything, and I said, yeah, I'll come work for you. And she said, you know, you'll have to do workshops, you're a graphic designer, so you can do some stuff for the company, performances, rehearsals, etc. I said, yeah, that's fine. So that was about 28, 29 years old. And from that point onwards, I left everything and I went into dance. So I stepped into my first dance class at 23, not knowing what was going to happen, and went professionally at 28, 29. Sorry, one second, I'm just going to check the time. What's that? Yeah, okay. I'm aware of the time, so I'm just gonna I have to say a massive quick thank you also to people like Samir Bamra, who was my first producer, Anand for pushing me, Akash Kesha, all the friends, all my dance friends in my life. I have to say a massive thank you to my gurus, Chitra Didi, Nilema Devi, Chaya Kanavati, Asha Joglika, who are all like mother figures to me, and if it wasn't for them, you know, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And massive thank you to Ginny Wollaston, who's producing for me right now, who's doing a fabulous job. And you know, thank you to everyone in the dance fraternity who supported us, like Sanjeevani when Metamorphic started, she was there, Piali Ray, Mira Academy, you know, and my training in contemporary came from people that I collaborated with, like Saju Hari, TJ Lowe, Jean Abreu, Gary Clark. And I got to work with Gary Clark because of Mira Goshik. She chose me to be Lena Singh in her production, The Troth, and it was just a brilliant experience. We toured all over England and India. We got to perform for the president, and it was, again, a great way to, you know, I kind of built up a brilliant relationship with Mira Ji at that point, and also Gary Clark, who I have the utmost respect for. And he's such a brilliant choreographer and storyteller. And this leads me, I'm just going to give you a quick story which leads me into my next part, which then I'll go into a performance. I went to India when I was 50. I'll be really quick. I went to India when I was 14 years old. Bearing in mind, I left when I was 2. So from 2 till 14, I never went back to India. We never went anywhere. We never sat on a plane. We never flew. We never went anywhere. So India was the first time that we were going on a plane. I was so excited. I just kept dreaming about it. And I built up such a beautiful image of what India was like. So I was watching travel programs, and they show the green lands and the hills, and I was watching Bollywood films and colors flying and people running around trees, and I thought I was going to see all this beautiful Bollywood dancing and everything. And I got off the plane and the doors open and the cow dung just hit me like boof, and I got off. And this was bearing in mind in 95. There was beggars. I remember my dad gave £1 to a beggar. There was 2 taxi drivers just outside the airport that were literally punching each other, fighting over our suitcase, who saw us first. We got to the hotel, there was loads of traffic cars on the road. I mean, I just cried for 3 days. I just wanted to go back. But when I told this story to Veena Basavaraja, this kind of developed into a production called Metamorphic, which is about a distorted image, how you interpret something and how something is completely distorted. And thanks to Gary Clark, he beautifully put 4 choreographies together by Chitra Kabola, Veena Basavaraja, Priti Vasudevan, and Rukmini Vijay Kumar. And he strung it all together while I'm telling my story about the bullying and the attack, and all whilst I'm painting live on stage. And at the end I have a painting which is fully finished, and what we do is we auction it off to the highest bidder, and all that money then goes to a bullying charity. So I feel like I'm able to at least give back something, and I just want to thank everybody who's been part of this journey. I've had to cut it quite short because we're running out of time, and I'm so many people to thank. I don't know if I should be showing you the image that I painted because I might be giving too much away, but I'll just give you a quick glance of the image that I paint during the show. So that's the image that I paint. So I do that live while I'm dancing, and then that gets auctioned out to the highest bidder, and again money goes to going. So I'm gonna show you a 2-minute excerpt of Metamorphic. Now, bearing in mind I'm not going to do it with the original music. I'm going to play some street sounds of India, and the only reason is because how it evoked an emotion in me when I was 15 years old. I'm hoping it triggers some sort of a memory, good or bad, however you see it, of you, a time when you were in India. So hope you enjoy this performance, and I'm just going to pass it back to Akash. Shall I flip it? Thank you so much, and thank you to Akash. He's been part of this wonderful journey, and till this date, look, we're still together working and helping each other out. So I just want to thank him so much. And I want to quickly introduce you to somebody who's been a massive inspiration in my life, somebody who's been behind all my successful videos. So I'm just gonna, 1 second, he's coming. There you go. Say hello. Say hello. Kissy. He's a bit shy. So again, thank you so much to Meera ji. And thank you to all the helpers and so I'm just going to leave you with this lovely image as I spend some time with my son.